Hey fam, welcome to another episode of Good, Bad, and Ugly about real estate. I have a great guest for you, my friend Shinyi.
I love the hand claps and the drum roll.
Hey, I
Thank you
told
for
you
having
the
me.
second time is going to be better. So, how you doing today?
I'm doing well. Thanks for asking. How about you, sir?
I am doing awesome. I get to spend next few, well, I'd say hours, I'd say some minutes with you today. So I'm excited. So for the audience, me and Shinyi recently met. I mean, we've met. Oh shoot, I don't know, 6 months ago, something like that. But we actually
Yeah,
like.
the very first time, but we really truly started talking. It was just 2 weeks ago when we came
Yeah,
back
something
from
like that
Monterey, right?
recently. So, as I said before, can you go ahead and share everybody your journey? How did you get into real estate, and why did you choose real estate?
Well, I chose real estate because initially, just like many other people, wanted to be financially free sooner instead of working my day-to-day job until I retire. That mindset came once you start a family. Once I started a family with the kids, and then I have a good career, good paying job, and I then realized I need to be able to produce a little more income to save some money up for my kids, build up some side business to support them, build a legacy, basically. So that
Right.
all started after you had kids.
Of
That's what happened to me. Yes,
course. You always look at the future once you have kids.
right. Yeah.
So what did you start like? For me, I was like IT guy
hmm
as I learned how to do real estate. So what industry did you start with?
hmm
And then what was the event that said, okay, I'm gonna start doing real estate now?
hmm Um, that's after I got my first job and I start getting pay and I have kids. I realized that there's not much um, additional opportunity other than the standard 9 to 5 job will offer me something beyond that.
Right.
You work a standard set of hours, you get paid good amount of money, but on the other hand, they also lock down sort of your freedom a little bit because it owns you at least 8 hours a day,
Right.
5 days a week. It depends on how many paid time off you have, right? And for me, I love travel. I love going around, see things, and I started realizing that if I continue to do just this one career, which pay me really well, I will have a limitation in terms of like when can I take off, when can I go do things with the kids, and I just want more than that.
Sure.
So that's when you start reading into some investment book, like how do you start a side business, how do you start a second career, how do you able to create additional side stream of income that will supplement your current salary. So then in real estate, this thing keep coming into my realm. Like when you start learning a lot of things from YouTube, you see a lot of real estate investing, buy this house, buy that house, be a landlord, you can earn additional couple hundred here and there, a couple thousand here and there. So that's as easy as they sound. Like it was not really that easy, but that's how everything all started. Like that, with the mindset of trying to create additional opportunity than just a standard 9 to 5.
So after you educated yourself on real estate, what was your first transaction? Like, what did you decide to? Because most people, when they get into real estate, they try wholesaling because it's the easiest way into real estate.
Right.
What did you do as your first transaction, and how did you get yourself prepared to do it?
Well, I bypassed that wholesaling thing because I just know myself. Like I'm good with the number, I'm good with finding deal, but I'm not good with getting on a phone call and trying to convince other people to sell me. So
Right.
very quick, I realized I'm not gonna be on the phone trying to pounce on the phone every day and try to convince people to sell. For me, it's like I like to buy deal from people who already like have it locked up and they were willing to assign to somebody who was willing to buy, and I then will take over that operation, buy it under a discount, and then operate it to its max potential. So I know my role, so that's why I never really wanted to be a wholesaler. That's just not in my lane.
Yeah. So what is your buy box like? What if a wholesaler is coming to you and saying, "Hey, I have this deal. Is this something that you would be interested in?" what are you looking for when you go look at decide to take on a house?
Mhm. So, buying, just that, maybe just starting with, I'm a buy and hold investor. So I buy rental portfolio. I like to buy and hold a long time. So with that in mind, I like to buy in the upcoming area. It has to be an area that has growth potential. They have to have a strong job market to support it. It can't be in the middle of nowhere. I know some people buy houses in the middle of nowhere or has higher demand because there's not that many inventory.
Right.
I don't like to play in that role. I like to play in the area that there's a lot of movement, there's a lot of activity, so that it will be easy for me to find tenants. So that, because people who come into work, they like to stay in the area. When they first move in, they have a new job, they want to stay in the area, they will usually start renting, right? But if there's no job growth to support that demand, it
Hmm.
support a strong rental market. So I only invested in a strong rental market, and I started in Maryland just because it's my backyard. Like, I know the area really, really well. So there are a couple of zip code that I will look around, like, to make sure that the rent will support the job growth, that there's a very strong job demand will support that, rental market. And I will always buy the deal that will cash flow on day one. I know people talk a lot about cash flow, right? It's all about what's your debt, how much you pay every month as a mortgage versus how much money you can make renting out to other people, right? And we're talking
Right.
about multiple different rental strategy. Are you trying to rent long-term rental or mid-term rental or short-term rental? I like to stay between the long and the mid-term because I'm
Hmm.
not a good, I don't like to get a lot of after our phone call, because when you try to operate a short-term rental business, you're essentially kind of stepping to the hospitality business, that you have to be gear your kind of tweak your operation plan to that kind of clientele. They expect it to be serviced like almost like 24/7. They will
Yeah.
complain about like something that the normal tenant wouldn't complain. So I like to stay out of that. Um, so I operate between the long-term rental and mid-term rental. Both are really good. It has its own pros and cons, but it has to cash flow day one for me. So I'm not willing to buy a house that, knowing that I bought it in, I will have to dump additional money to build it or have you rehabbed it to like carrying the house for like 3 to 6 months to before I even get my first check. That's not the house that I'm willing to buy. So that's just basically like that. And the cash flowing potential had to be at least, I used to be like $300 per door, but now I'm shooting for like at least $400 to $500 a door. Otherwise, I wouldn't wanted to get it.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I've learned that if I go too small on that cost per door or
It's not worth it.
earning per door, well, yeah, I mean, one tax increase or one insurance increase and your profits is gone.
Yeah, to
So
wipe out your profit. Yep.
um, definitely, I've adjusted just like you did.
Right. And other than that, though, like
So
we talk about cash flow, right? Like I want to kind of wedging really quick about the other side of not just cash flow. It's the reason I'm buying in a strong job market is because that's usually a very good, appreciating market. So the
right,
appreciation will also catch up really fast. Like even though my cash flow may be just a few $100 a door per year, but the house might increase like 30 to 50K a year as you carry longer and longer. You build out a really good delta that you can refinance and pull the cash out to buy another asset.
gotcha.
That's why I don't buy stuff in the middle of nowhere for that reason, because I'm looking for that appreciation.
Absolutely. So, people that are watching the channel, they're like, well, that's all great, but how do you determine what is a thriving market or a strong economy? What tools are you using to identify like, oh, this is a good place to? 'Cause you said you have like two zip codes. What's so
Mhm.
special about those two zip codes? What do you see in those zip codes that you're like, this is this is a good market for me for my strategy,
Mhm.
in order for me to make the money that I'm trying to make?
Yeah, sure. Like you can start with like Googling the Google, right? It's like Google is my best friend. Like you just type in like job market potential, type in city and state name. Like usually there will be some people already wrote like a few newsletter or article about that town that will give you a pretty good read about the market pulse, like what's happening right now. And you can see was those news or article was posted recently. And you can also go into the state website or any there are a lot of websites that commercial broker will use to look at the population growth. That's another good indicator. If there's a strong population growth in the area, that usually means people are moving in. There must be something that's supporting that. And you can also Google what's the largest economy entity in that area. Like I'm looking for, I work in the healthcare industry, so I like to see a lot of like big hospital, big government agency, because those are really strong, stable market that people will just get high paying job is really stable to support that. Hospital, and also big school, sometimes big teaching school as well, because you have a lot of students will have to stay there. And a big teaching school, big campus, they support a lot of the economy growth because there will be a lot of shops and business have to support students, provide housing, provide restaurant, all that stuff. And then what I also tell people is that you can just blow it out on the Google map, right? Is it nearby a few certain iconic store? I like to see it need to be nearby Starbucks. There shouldn't be a Starbucks that's less than like 30-minute drive. It need to be by Starbucks. And then, or like I like to see like Target, Whole Foods, those Hallmark, like grocery shop. You just know like because those big economy company, like they spend a lot of money doing market research to decide to drop a store over there. So you kind of just tap onto there, like, because they already done the target research, market research, and they decide to set a store over there. There must be something to support that growth. And then also depends on the area, right? What's your target clientele? If you're serving healthcare, traveling nurses and doctor, you want to be like nearby the hospital, right? If you want to just supporting student housing, you want to be nearby the university. If you just supporting service industry people, you want to be like nearby, maybe like Amazon warehouse plan, or like some bigger store like Home Depot or something like that, supporting like some sort of building construction. Like depends on who you wanted to serve. So but I'm looking for those big name store. So it can't be just like if I blow it out, I only see like dollar store, or like there's only like one gas station in the area. I just know, okay, yeah, that's not gonna be a good market to go in. Like, not to say there's no market, it's just you're gonna be you're gonna deal with some occupancy issue when there's an economy downturn or something like that. So
that makes perfect sense. I use two websites. One's called bestplacestolive.net, I think it is.
Yes, that
and then
one.
the other one I use is uhaul.com, which is really crazy that you would think that, but on that website, it actually shows you the states that people are moving to. So it'll give you like the top 5 I think it's like the top 25 states that people are renting from and then moving to. So it gives you an idea of like, oh, okay, people are moving to, let's say, Texas, or people are moving to North Carolina. So then you can start looking at markets in those states, so where people are moving to get an idea of where you might want to invest.
Wow, that is so smart. This is the first time I heard about. What's that? The uhaul.com?
uhaul.com.
Okay.
I know the past. You the link.
That's very smart, because a lot of people trying to migrate, especially post-COVID, right? Like people moving out of the city.
Yeah.
If they wanted to move, they usually rent U-Haul to move across the state line. So you can see the migration route where they're going. Yeah, that's a great tip. Yeah.
So, you talked about getting jobs and then you decided to just go straight into buying holds. How did you figure out, like, did you have a real estate background, or it's just pretty simple, just sign a contract and, buy a house?
That's a great question. I don't know nothing about real estate when I decided to do real estate. I just know I need to make it happen, and I know I can do it because I'm good with numbers. So I think crunching on those numbers, make sure I don't lose money, it shouldn't be too hard to figure it out. So that's just as simple as that. So I start with reading some books, a real estate investor book like Rich Dad Poor Dad. Also watching some YouTube video. That's all free resource to start. And then after that, I started looking into Zillow, scroll Zillow, kind of, you know, practice my underwriting skill to make sure, yeah, this is the house that would work, that one wouldn't work. And to the point I realized, you know what, I think I know what's going on. I know what to buy. But I need to be better at writing contract or understanding the contract aspect of things. So at the time I was just a pharmacist. So I'm like, I don't know how to write real estate contract. Who's writing real estate contract? Okay, usually it's a realtor who's writing real estate contract. So I then start searching, how do I become a realtor? And you know, I went through that process and then that, okay, you only need to study and then pass just one test, and then it doesn't sound really hard. So I just kind of went ahead and just pick up the course, study over the weekend, and I did it. So that's how I got my real estate license, and that's actually how I purchased we purchased our first rental property. I was the realtor who wrote the contract for our house, our very first house.
That's craziness.
Yeah.
So, you know, people that are watching the channel, a lot of them may not have the funds to do this. How did you figure out how to fund your first deal?
We save a lot. Like we're frugal. We don't use a lot of, we don't spend a lot of money buying stuff. So like I still remember when I first started my new job, I just still drive this beat up like used rental car when I first started, and I kind of transitioned into like leasing the car because I realized that leasing cars is actually cheaper than owning a brand new car because they pay for all your maintenance. Like, because when you lease the car, you can just drop the car back and do the maintenance. Anyhow, so I got my job, and then we just start saving every penny we could. Like, that's the only thing we know, like, because that's the only income stream we have. So we didn't spend a lot of money on the vacation and stuff like that. We're just like, we need to buy real estate. We need to save up the down payment so we can buy. And then at the time, we know like you need to save out at least 25% down payment to buy investment property, because we only know traditional financing. That's before we knew this creative financing strategy, which is like crazy to me still nowadays. So we save everything that we could, put down almost like 125K down payment to get our first rental house. Was a apartment building, 4 unit apartment building. Yeah, that's the very first house that we own.
You said 4 units.
4 units.
No real estate background and went straight to a multifamily. That's crazy.
Because the number works.
Yeah, of course. I mean,
Right.
I think that's awesome. You know, some people like, no, I'll just start with a single family. But I like the boldness of buying a multifamily first right out the gate. I was not a frugal person, and so I had to learn how to either borrow it from either a financial institution or, you know, from a private money lender for my first deal to get into it. I take that back.
Yeah.
I did use my 401k as a loan to get into my first deal.
That's a good segue. So I will explain that out of that 125K is actually 50K is actually we borrow from our 401k, because you know, when you have 401k with your employer, you have an option to borrow up to 50K from your 401k. So out of that 125, 50 is from our 401k. We kind of leverage it out. If I knew what I knew today, I would think that's so silly. I saved so much money and for so long only buy one freaking house. If I spread it out, I buy creatively, I could have probably bought like 4 houses then. But you don't know when you don't know, right? But
exactly.
But we were all educated, and it was been a very rewarding journey to learn, you know, from that to where we are today. Yeah.
So where are you today? Like, how have you grown since you bought your first property?
Yeah, since then, I've, you know, started buying a house creatively. I bought it subject to existing mortgage, and I also participate a couple of different syndication deal, like a large multifamily. I was a part owner of Paces deal in Tucson, Arizona. That was like, I think it's like 100, 200. I forgot how many units. It was just a great deal. And I also own, I'm a part owner of the resort outside of Colorado, National Park, Rocky Mountain National Park. And I also lend money, private money here and there if the project makes sense to me, because that's also another way to kind of make income on the side, that you just make sure you still have to vet the deal conservatively, and but you just essentially be a bank. Then I will be able to make like usually the returns at least 12%, 12 to 18%, typically annualized return, which is way better than you will ever get from putting any bank that you could ever find, in the United States. So that I love that. Like, I be a lender when there's a project come that makes sense. Typically short term, I like to keep my money liquid because I also need to use my money to buy my own deal. So typically the term was like 6 months or less. That's a transitional funding kind of lending opportunity. And then other than that, I'm just trying to save out as much money as I can, because I'm also looking to buying into a bigger asset, meaning a commercial deal like mobile home park and bigger apartment building, like 20 units plus. That's what I'm looking at right now.
That's awesome. And how long have you been doing real estate?
That very first house that we talked about, that 4 unit apartment, was 2019 when I got my first.
Okay, so that's not
Yeah,
too long.
and I took a break when I had my kids. Like, now they're 5 and 7 years old now. We took about like maybe a year and a half to 2 years. That's every new parent will tell you, like when you have newborn, you just like the first 2 years, you just like there's no life, you just like blew through it. You don't even remember. So we took a pause during that time, invest more passively. But now the kids are grown up. We decided to go back and be more active again, meaning that we will be buying asset, and then we will still own and operate, or potentially partner with the right partner. So like we can co-GP the deal together, being a general partner.
Nice. So now that you've progressed from your fourplex to larger projects, what is your goal now? What are you trying? What is your mission? What are you trying to attain at this point?
Mm-hmm. I wanted to own bigger assets also, because I have this mission trying to help solve the affordability issue, like many of us. My ideal clientele I will love to serve and help would be women and younger children. I have a couple of pretty good experience working with some nonprofit agency that they specifically house domestic violence victims, or like human trafficking victims, stuff like that. That usually they're a single mom or with young kids, or they could be just single women that who just need some safe shelter to stay. So I will be glad to provide quality housing for these people, because a lot of time they're in a special situation that they really need the support, but it's really hard for them to find the house that will find the provider who will understand that purpose and to house them, because they don't fit the regular, what you say, the checklist.
Yeah.
Right, the clientele. Because if you go into any bigger apartment complex, they're going to be like, okay, fill out this application. Okay, give me your background, social security number. I'm going to run background, credit, and pull everything I could possibly pull. But these people, sometimes they have some life, struggle, that they just don't fit the typical checklist, checkbox, right?
Yeah.
So I think I'm in this stage that I can help them, and that also bring me some joy, like not just making money, also provide opportunity for other people to make sound cheesy, but make it a better place, I guess, for all of
Not
us.
cheesy. I have
Yeah.
the same goal. So
Right.
if you're cheesy, so am I.
Right. Yeah.
So the name of my channel is The Good, Bad, and Ugly, right? And any investor, you go through trials and tribulations, good and bad transactions. Would you be willing to share with the audience a good experience and maybe a bad experience, so they can potentially learn from the stuff that you've learned?
Yeah, sure. I Luckily, I don't really have any like really, really bad experience that was like, gosh, like you kind of question what you're doing.
Right.
So far my experience has been really, really good. Like there's some little bump in the road, but I wouldn't call that catastrophic. We bought a house that was infested with German roaches.
Oh
I have
wow.
to. It was so bad that we have to, put it on the treatment plan for like 4 months and to clear that all out because before I can put anybody in. So I lost 4 months of rental income because of that. And now I know that I have to make sure I hire inspector to inspect the house. I will probably specifically ask the inspector, even though they have, they will give me an inspection report. I'll make sure they check any signs of infestation and also any signs of like termite damages, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So that I can have or maybe even order a second inspection report if it was that bad, just to make sure I have a second set of eye. And I typically buy the house pretty conservatively. So fingers crossed I haven't run into like the situation I lose a lot of money.
Right.
So I think that German roach is the worst situation that ever happened to me because I didn't expect it to be this bad. but
Yeah,
but
but
it's
3 or 4
not.
months of
Yeah, yeah,
payments is can be tough
right,
for people.
right, right. That's why it's so important for you to buy conservatively. A lot of newbie mistake that people will make is they didn't factor into the what I call the what if, like
Hmm.
OMG moment. Like when people come to me, they try to put send me deal for me to look at. I always look at to see if they factor into at least 20 to 25% contingency, so the cash flow is really how you calculate the cash flow. For example, like let's just keep the math simple. um if the mortgage is $1,000 a month, right, and this house, the current market rent is $1,500 a month. So some people will say, well, you're making $500 a month. There's a cash flow. So I know that's not really the true cash flow. And because we, as a landlord, you owning houses, you have to factor into like CapEx, capital expenditure, or occupancy, right? For me, I like to just keep at least minimum 10% occupancy right off the top. Like, because sure, if the house is 100% full, that's great. But in case there is some turnover, right, I always factor in at least 10% contingency of the as a occupancy, another 10% for the capex, capital expenditure, like for major equipment breakdown like HVAC or plumbing issue and stuff like that. That just need to be built
Sure.
in because the house may be okay, but 3 4 months 3 4 years later you might have to replace the entire HVAC system, stuff like that. Another 5% just like as a cushion because the tax might go up, the insurance might go up, or maybe there's some minor issue I need to fix. So I like to at least take a 20 to 25% discount fund that the differences. So if you use the $500 times take a 25% off, that will be what I consider the more close to real cash flow every month, right? And then
Gotcha.
then I will look at that to see if that's at least $400 a month at least for me to consider buying that.
So for the audience, if you didn't catch that, it's what's normally referred to as a war chest, and that war chest is where you
Correct.
put that 25% kind of aside for that rainy day or for that
Rainy
unexpected.
day fun. Yep.
You
Yeah.
know, that way you don't have to come struggling for if you have a vacancy in your property because you already have put money aside for those that hopefully short period of time. Um, or if that roof starts to leak, you have that money aside for that, like you said, that capex.
Right.
Um, or water main bust. If you're in Maryland, it gets cold in the winter. It'd be very easy for a
Burst pipe.
water pipe to
Yeah.
burst if they're not
Yeah.
winterized or they're exposed to the cold. So as an investor, you got to keep these things in mind, and that's the best practice to do is to have a war chest set aside. If you don't have enough money in um, the funds that you're collecting for your rental, it's too short of a deal. Don't do the deal because if you don't have money to put aside for those oh moments, then you're going to end up having to either one, come out of pocket from your everyday expenses from your personal life, which you don't want to do, or you're going to end up for getting foreclosed on that property because you just can't afford to maintain it. So, word to the wise: if you can't put at least 25% aside and still make money, it's not a good deal.
It's not a deal. Yes. Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Some people would say, well, yeah, it's not going to cash flow long term, but it's going to cash flow midterm. It's going to be like spitting out cash and running, short-term rental. It's like, great, but I'm not a short-term rental operator. Also, short-term rental is not consistent income. It's fluctuating throughout the season. There's a seasonality. So it's really hard to project a stabilized return in that
and
regard.
and it's a large upfront expense, right? Because I mean,
Correct.
you depending on how you furnish the property, you could be going from, I don't know, as cheap as 5K up to 25K, depending on how you furnish it. You can use. I know my first one I used. I hate to admit this, but I went to Facebook Marketplace and just
Yeah.
started grabbing pieces from there. Like I grabbed a couch from this person. I grabbed plates and cups from this person. I grabbed a dresser from that person, and
Right.
just put it all together. And I think I spent $3,500 to basically furnish a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house. And then the last one that I did, I spent about 15K going to um, Ashley's Furniture to get the property. So I mean, I've done both ends of the spectrum, and I know people that spend even more than that, because they have, I guess, more expensive taste than I do. I don't know, or a bigger house.
Yeah, I used to do that a lot, like as a student as well, like because I like to buy things that's used, because you immediately save 50% out of that.
Yeah,
But now, as I kind of furnish the house different way, I will think about who will be the client who's living in there and what kind of expectation they have. So that's why I kind of slowly step away from luxury rental, because like I just not my forte. I don't want to furnish the house really nice and sophisticated. That really increased my cost of getting it rent ready. And a lot of time these type of clientele, they also have certain type of taste, and or what I will call the entitlement. They expect it to be served. It's just not who I wanted to service. And I have more joy or enjoyment search supporting workforce housing or healthcare professional, which is my people, right? I work in healthcare industry. I used to work with these doctor nurses in the hospital, and I know they're just very busy learning and saving lives. They don't really have time to mess up your house. So I was like, great.
there you go.
That's my perfect clientele. Yes.
Yeah, I've considered doing crash pads for like pilots and flight attendants because
Right.
they need a place to call home while they're
Yeah.
quote unquote home,
Yeah.
right? They may only be there for 2 weeks out of the month. The rest of the time they're
Correct. Yeah,
so
and then they're late coming in, first morning flying out, like yeah, and then for them it's their temporary home, so they don't, they just looking for a good sort of like an executive type of rental. As long as you have a good amenity, you furnish the house that really well, you will have a return customer to keep
absolutely
coming, yeah, back.
awesome. So I try to share your story with everybody and how you invest. If somebody wanted to invest with you, if somebody wanted to like follow you and see how your journey progresses, how can they do that?
They can search my name, Shinyi Taoshi, on YouTube. I just started my YouTube channel. My channel name is Purpose Driven Investment Podcast. I basically just trying to keep it fun. I will invite people that I would like to learn from, and they're usually from different expertise, and then they all have this mission about provide the best service out there to help people, and the best quality of opportunity for people to learn from. So they can follow me on Instagram, and they can also look at my YouTube channel.
Awesome. Um, don't worry about that. It'll be in the description. I'll make sure you have the links. Don't forget to like and share, and make sure everybody knows that this is also going to be on Spotify. So, Shinyi, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate you
Thank
sharing
you.
And for the audience, we'll see you in the next episode.
Thank you, Jose.
Bye.
Bye.